All right, Vince, it's that time.
Oh, geez.
We're going to explain why Battleborn is a MOBA. And it is. It is a MOBA.
Oh, it is absolutely a MOBA.
By definition, MOBA means multiplayer online battle arena, and you can take that in any number of ways, but we're going to stick very close to home in the conventional sense of what a MOBA is. It has characters, it has lanes, it has creeps, it has abilities. You level up in a match, and then all of that leveling progress is then erased into the next match. Now, it is a little bit of a misnomer because Battleborn does have only one game mode that is a MOBA, the multiplayer game mode. The single player is kind of like a weird PvE MOBA, but that takes the multiplayer online battle arena kind of... It's a strange, like, dichotomy there.
Yeah. But I mean, like, when you look at the things that... Like, when I start talking high-level, like, more high-level tactics to about, you know, how you play Battleborn, you instantly... You can't avoid it. Like, you start saying things that are totally just MOBA concepts. Like so, for instance, these shards that I'm picking up, like, this is the equivalent of gold. And
Sure.
then, like, I need to get as much of this gold as possible so that I can activate my abilities. So
as
I can
well as
activate,
turrets. And
So I can, well, there's turrets, right? But like that's like buying support items, like activating turrets, activating like you know, creating these turrets and stuff, and these healing areas and these supply areas. Like, that's whatever. That's for the supports, dude.
Sure.
Like, for me, I've gotta get all these shards that I can and use that to activate my you know, my gear items that are gonna give me all kinds of damage bonuses and stuff. And I gotta do that as fast as possible.
And even if there isn't a one-to-one analog with things like towers, I still don't think it's an unfair comparison. And I also don't think it's an unfair quantification of this game's multiplayer to say it's a MOBA. I know it's a term that a lot of developers are kind of a little bit reluctant to tack on their game because it carries such a heavy connotation in terms of post-launch support,
Sure.
a free-to-play element, a competitive scene. And so it's weird that it exists in this game that also has a single-player element to it. But having seen it, and my initial thought with Overwatch was going to be a MOBA. Overwatch is not a MOBA, which is nothing against it. Like, it turned out to be a brilliant game, and it tacking on all these Overwatch, as we were talking about before, all these passive skills and active skills, and kind of complicating the basic core awesome gameplay there doesn't really fit a game like that. So I think it was an absolutely great choice to not have an item shop, to not have passive abilities you could unlock for your characters and stuff like that. But for a game like this, it decided to go that route. So my question to you is, do you think it's a little bit too complicated at the start, especially considering the single player, or do you think this is just more depth to the game, and it's going to allow you to play more games before you start to feel kind of fatigued by it?
I think it's definitely going to be the latter because, honestly, I'm already at a point where, like, I played like 5 or 6 games last night, and then I logged off for the night, and then I was just sitting there in bed, kind of thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, like if I built a loadout like this, and then I activated this first, and I went with these skill combinations, and suddenly I'm theory crafting in my head about like how I could how I could approach a character better, and all of a sudden I was like, man, I gotta log back on and try this stuff.
Sure.
And that's something that, like, Overwatch keeps me glued because, like, it's so fun. You know, this is like keeping me glued, both because there's fun. I don't want to say it's not fun, but like, nice. I'll take that. But it's also keeping me glued because. No, you're not getting away. Get back here.
Haha, Wrath does take some processes of thought as you were unable to complete your sentence while you were playing him. So, yeah,
Okay,
obviously a very skilled
Oh, yes,
character.
clearly.
So are you fighting to an opponent's like Nexus here? Is that what that big mech is?
Yeah, you're fighting to 2 mechs, basically.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do. So, anyway, but yeah, I feel like anytime I start thinking in depth about this game, making sure that I get good farm, making sure that I don't fall behind in levels early, which I kind of have here, which I'm a little worried about. Making sure that that I don't overextend myself. All these things are all things that I think about as a MOBA player.
Sure.
And so I feel like that's that just opens up all, like, you have to think about things in a whole more coordinated way in this game, like, than I think you do in Overwatch. In Overwatch, coordinated team play will certainly be a thing, and certainly timing your ultimates and things like that will help out a lot. But That said, I still feel strongly that you'll have to have like for instance the big massive shards. You know, those massive shards that you can destroy. Like you have to leave those for the carry. Like you have to leave those for Wrath. If you're the person, if you're the support and you're taking that stuff, like you're messing up.
Great. Well, that's a little bit of a look into why we think that this game is particularly a MOBA, more so than Overwatch. But that is not a quantification of whether we think one is better than the other, though we will have that discussion in just a little bit.